There's a type in the top 5 savers on this list that most people would assume spends constantly on niche obsessions. They don't. They just research them for 3 weeks and then move on. We're ranking all 16 MBTI types, from the ones most likely to impulse buy to the ones who feel genuinely uncomfortable spending money they don't have to. 2 things drive the ranking: how emotional the spend trigger is, and how long they can sit with wanting something before acting on it. Quick note before we start. This isn't about shaming anyone's financial habits. Every type on this list has something to learn and something to teach about money. This is about self-reflection, not judgment. If you're new here and don't know your MBTI type yet, check out the free quiz linked in the description below to find yours. Then jump back in to see where you land on our ranking. Drop your type in the comments once you know. Let's get into it. This first group belongs to what I'd like to call the impulse buyers. These types don't always buy because they need something. Sometimes the buying is the point. Beginning our list at number 16, ESFP. For ESFPs, spending isn't a financial decision, it's a sensory experience. The moment something catches their eye, a trip, an outfit, a spontaneous dinner reservation at a place they've never tried, the purchase is basically already made. The only thing standing between the want and the buy is the 2 seconds it takes to tap confirm. I wasn't planning on getting this, but I walked past it and it just felt right. ESFPs live in the present moment, which means future bank balance is a deeply abstract concept compared to, right now, wanting this thing. The emotional spend trigger fires fast, the delayed gratification tolerance is essentially 0, and the joy of the purchase is real and immediate. The regret, if it comes later, usually when the statement arrives.
Number 15, ENFP. ENFPs don't impulse buy randomly. They impulse buy aspirationally, which is somehow more expensive. Every purchase is connected to a version of themselves they're either becoming or planning to become. The guitar is for the musician era. The language learning app is for the Paris trip that's definitely happening. The journaling supplies are for the morning routine that starts Monday. I know I don't need this right now, but the person I'm becoming absolutely will. The emotional spend trigger here is identity-driven, which means it's almost impossible to argue against in the moment. Of course you should invest in yourself. Of course this matters. The problem is that the next identity era arrives before the current purchases have been used. Number 14, ESFJ. ESFJs don't impulse buy for themselves, they impulse buy for everyone else. The spend trigger for ESFJs is relational. Someone mentions they like something, and an ESFJ has mentally already bought it, wrapped it, and planned when to give it. A family event is coming up, and suddenly the cart is full of things nobody asked for, but everyone will appreciate. I saw this and immediately thought of you. I couldn't not get it. Their delayed gratification tolerance is actually reasonable when it comes to personal purchases. The vulnerability is other people. ESFJs express love through giving, which means their spending is as emotionally driven as any type on this list. It just points outward instead of inward. The bank account takes the same hit either way. Number 13, ENFJ. ENFJs spend on experiences and people, and they spend on them generously, because for ENFJs, money is a tool for connection, not a number to protect. A birthday dinner for someone they love, a concert they want to share, a spontaneous trip that came up in conversation and felt right. ENFJs don't experience these as financial decisions. They experience them as relationship investments. Money comes and goes, this memory lasts. The emotional spend trigger is high and people-fueled, which means the purchase always feels justified in the moment. It usually is meaningful. It's just also expensive. ENFJs are less likely to regret what they bought than to quietly wonder later how the numbers got where they got.
Before we get into the next group, these types aren't impulse buyers. They budget, they plan, they're generally pretty disciplined, except for one specific thing. And that one thing is different for every type, which is what makes this tier the most interesting and the most debatable part of this entire list. They are types that I call the selective spenders. Generally disciplined, one reliable weakness. You know exactly which category it is. Number 12, ESTP. ESTPs are practically minded about most spending. They don't buy things they don't use, they don't overpay for things they can find cheaper, and they have a low tolerance for anything that doesn't deliver immediate tangible value. The exception is experiences and gear, specifically high-quality gear for things they're actively doing and experiences that are worth the cost of admission. I don't spend money on stuff I don't need. This I'm absolutely using. The ESTP's spend trigger fires when something clears the utility bar. When it does, the price point becomes secondary to the quality of the outcome. They're not impulse buyers, they're efficiency buyers who occasionally spend efficiently on things that cost a lot. Number 11, ENTP. ENTPs are frugal until they're not, and the transition between those two states takes approximately 45 seconds. The pattern is consistent. Months of discipline, careful consideration, actively ignoring purchases that don't make the cut. And then a new interest emerges, and suddenly cost becomes an obstacle to be reasoned around rather than a limit to be respected. I know this is a lot of money, but when you think about it from a different angle, they've already thought about it from 6 angles. The 7th angle always supports buying. ENTPs are excellent at researching purchases and excellent at constructing arguments for why the research supports spending. The delayed gratification tolerance is high right up until the new obsession arrives, and then it's 0.
Number 10, INFP. INFPs are naturally minimalist about most things. They don't want clutter, they don't care about status, and they're not impressed by things that don't mean something. The caveat is that meaning something covers more territory than it sounds. A book that connects to something they're going through. An art print that perfectly represents something they can't articulate. Something handmade, rare, or aligned with a value they hold. It's not expensive, it's exactly right. There's a difference. The emotional spend trigger for INFPs fires on authenticity and resonance, not novelty or social pressure, which means their spending is relatively contained, but deeply intentional, and occasionally more than intended, because the right thing has no competition.
Number 9, ISFP. ISFPs spend quietly and selectively, but their aesthetic sense is a non-negotiable line item that doesn't respond to budget conversations. They're not extravagant. They're not impulse buyers in the traditional sense. But when something is beautiful in exactly the right way, or crafted in a way that resonates with their personal sense of taste, the price tag becomes a secondary consideration. I don't buy a lot, but when I do, it has to be right. ISFPs would rather own one thing they love than 5 things that are fine, which is admirable and also occasionally expensive because the thing they love is often the more expensive version of the 5 things that are fine. Number 8, INFJ. INFJs are disciplined and thoughtful about money in most areas, but they have a consistent blind spot for anything that feels like an investment in growth, clarity, or becoming a better version of themselves. Therapy, courses, books by the stack, a journal that cost more than it needed to because the quality felt important, a retreat that was expensive but necessary. It's not a purchase, it's an investment in where I'm going. The delayed gratification tolerance is high, but the framing does a lot of work here. INFJs don't feel like they're spending on these things, they feel like they're building something, which makes the emotional spend trigger very easy to rationalize and very hard to argue against. Number 7, ENTJ. ENTJs are strategic about money in a way that looks like discipline but functions differently. They don't spend impulsively, they spend intentionally on things that compound, better tools that save time, premium versions of things they use daily, experiences and relationships that expand their network, status-adjacent purchases that signal capability. This isn't a splurge, this is the version that actually works. The spend trigger for ENTJs fires when something offers leverage. They will absolutely spend more on the thing that performs better, lasts longer, or reflects the level they're operating at. This is calculated spending, not saving, and it keeps them out of the super saver tier despite being one of the most financially intentional types on the list.
The personality types that make up this third and last tier are the super savers. These types don't just save because they're disciplined. For some of them, a growing balance is genuinely the most satisfying thing money can do. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying this. We do this every week. Number 6, ESTJ. ESTJs don't spend without justification, not because they're anxious about money, but because unjustified spending conflicts with the internal structure they've built around how resources should be managed. Every significant purchase earns its place. It has a function, a timeline, and a reason it couldn't wait. Spontaneous spending feels like disorder, and ESTJs don't do well with disorder. If it's not in the budget, it's not happening. Simple. They're not joyless about this. ESTJs can spend happily on things that make the cut. The filter is just unusually rigorous. A purchase that clears it feels earned. One that doesn't happen regardless of how tempting it is. Number 5. ISFJ. ISFJs are security-oriented savers who spend carefully and consistently maintain a buffer because the alternative, financial instability, is a source of genuine anxiety. Their spending is mostly practical, occasionally generous, and rarely impulsive. When they do spend, it's usually on someone else or on something that contributes to the home and relationships they've built. I'd rather know it's there than spend it on something I don't need. The delayed gratification tolerance is very high. ISFJs can want something for months, decide against it, and feel genuinely fine about that decision. The comfort of the savings outweighs the discomfort of the want, which is the specific quality that puts them in the top tier. Number 4. INTP. Here's the type most people won't see coming this high up in the ranking. INTPs don't spend much, not primarily because they're disciplined, but because their relationship with purchasing is dominated by research. Every potential buy goes through an extensive evaluation process: comparative analysis, review aggregation, long-term value assessment, alternative options. The problem is that the research rarely ends in a decision. By the time the INTP has fully evaluated the purchase, the impulse has expired, a newer version has been announced, or they've simply moved on to thinking about something else. I've had it in the cart for 3 weeks. I'll probably get it eventually. They won't. The cart will be quietly abandoned. The money stays in the account not as an act of willpower, but as a byproduct of never quite finishing the decision. The INTP is the only type on this list who saves money primarily through procrastination, and it works remarkably well.
Number 3. INTJ. INTJs have a strategic relationship with money that treats every purchase as something that has to justify its existence. They're not frugal in a restrictive way. They'll spend significantly on something that genuinely earns the investment. What they won't do is spend on things that don't, regardless of how much they want them in the moment. The want gets evaluated. The evaluation is rigorous. Most wants don't make it through. If I still want it in 2 weeks, I'll get it. I usually don't still want it in 2 weeks. The delayed gratification tolerance is among the highest on this list. INTJs experience wanting something and not getting it as a test of whether the want was real, and they're generally comfortable with the outcome either way. The bank balance grows as a natural consequence of this filter, not as a goal in itself. Number 2. ISTJ. ISTJs are systematic savers who experience unplanned spending as a minor form of disorder, and disorder for ISTJs is uncomfortable enough to avoid. They have a budget. The budget is followed. When something outside the budget appears, the question isn't, do I want this? The question is, where does this fit? If it doesn't fit, it doesn't happen. I know exactly where every dollar is going this month. This wasn't in the plan. There's no struggle here, which is what makes ISTJs genuinely excellent at this. It's not willpower against desire, it's a system running correctly. The spend trigger barely fires because the system intercepts it before it can build momentum. The savings grow because that's what the plan says happens. And finally, topping our list at number 1, ISTP. ISTPs take the top spot, and the reason is simpler than any of the types above them. They just don't want most things. Not because they've trained themselves not to want them, not because they've built systems to intercept the impulse, because most consumer goods, experiences, and status purchases don't connect to anything ISTPs actually value. The emotional spend trigger that drives every other type to varying degrees barely exists. I don't need it, so I didn't buy it. When ISTPs do spend, it's on something specific and functional, a tool, a piece of equipment, something that serves a clear purpose in how they actually live. Everything else is noise. They're not saving towards something. They're not proving anything about their discipline. Money just accumulates because the things it could be spent on aren't particularly interesting. That's not minimalism as a philosophy. It's indifference as a financial strategy, and it's remarkably effective.
So, where did your type land? Drop it in the comments, and be honest. What's your one category that completely bypasses your discipline? Because everyone has one, and the comment section on this one is going to be very revealing. And here's the debate worth having. Do you think the super savers in the top 6 are actually better with money, or are they just avoiding the enjoyment that spending can bring? Because there's an argument that the types at the bottom of this list get more out of their money, not less. If you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We do this every week. And remember, the goal isn't to spend less or save more. It's to spend and save in a way that actually reflects what you value. And knowing your type is a pretty good place to start figuring out what that looks like.